Come. 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 Let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together. Oh, and the opening hymn is 347, Gather the Spirit. It is indeed 347, Gather the Spirit. Please rise as you are able.
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. My name is Elise Henricks, and I'm a member of our worship committee. If you're having trouble hearing us today, please raise your hand if you're here in the meeting house or message us in the chat function of Zoom. We want to make sure everyone can hear. At this time, masks are optional in the meeting house. We are so glad that you have chosen to be here with us this morning or to join us virtually. However your journey, whatever your heritage, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. Your presence here on Sunday morning enriches worship for everyone. This sanctuary is made holy by your presence. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome. You'll find information about First Parish in your pew, and one of the greeters, I think Andrea was helping out, we have a sort of dearth of greeters, which is a reason you can help by signing up after church. But any of us would be happy to walk you over to social hour. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship. So I call your attention to the printed announcements that came with your order of worship or can be found in your emailed link. There's a couple of things of note. Primarily, please, if you're able to, join us for the church coffee hour / social hour / picnic, which is going to happen right after the service in the hall, I believe, right? So please join us for that. Food is already there. If you didn't bring anything, don't worry, just bring yourself. And there'll be some opportunities. We are looking for volunteers to help us to create these services each week, and we need everyone who is able to help to please help to sign up at that event. Now let's take a few minutes to greet one another and extend a warm welcome to old friends and new. We're going to ask people to still stay in their seats, but turn around, greet folks, and if you're on Zoom, please turn on your video and go to gallery view.
How are you? I'm Ellen. This is Gabby.
Hello, Hale. Hey, Pat. There's Hale. There's his eyebrows.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Both Tucker and I are quarantined because we caught COVID from our kids visiting us from California. So.
Oh, are you sick? How are you feeling?
Definitely on the mend.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Those vaccinations work.
I finished my 5-day Paxlovid course, which the most unpleasant part about it just leaves a
Please
kind of
take
a
moment
sour
to
taste
make
in your
sure
mouth.
cell phones are
Agreed.
silenced.
Hang in there.
Now is the moment when we can focus on being here, when we can choose to connect with ourselves and the divine, when we can choose to just be present. Leona Sitkoff is going to come up and light our chalice. Are you there, Leona?
As Leona comes forward, I'll just say we welcome having people of all ages light the chalice and ring the bell. May the flame that we now kindle light the path back to our center, back to that place of belonging, to what is true, what is deepest within, what knows us even better than we know ourselves. And may the chalice, our chalice, remind us that we are held and welcomed whole, without the need to hide a single piece or part of who we are.
Now please join me in saying our call to worship. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together.
You have a lovely tradition here, as do many Unitarian Universalist churches, of blessing those who teach in the religious education, religious exploration program, and those who teach, in other words, the young people. So I'm now going to call the names of everyone who is involved in the religious education program. That would be young people, that would be the older folks, well, those who teach. And I'm going to ask you to come up here and then turn like me and face everybody else. And when you come, if some of you would bring a hymnal, and some of you would bring the order of service, because there are words in there that, actually, those of you who come up, only some of you need to bring a hymnal. So here's who I want to say, and so some of these people aren't here, but they are registered or they are teachers. And if I miss anybody, let me know, just come up, and if I say your name wrong, I'm really sorry, and you can tell me that I did. We'll start actually with Colin Glazer. And Colin, are you able to come up and do what you're doing there? Double duty?
See about here if I have to change anything.
I didn't catch you, but you do whatever you think is best. And thank you being such a pro there. So Colin Glazer, and then Nathaniel Miller, Nicholas Miller, Noah Sitkoff, Zyla Sophinas, Alexander Felice, Jeremiah Sitkoff, Ana Marquez, Annie Johnson Joseph, Charlie Johnson Joseph, Jonathan Felice, Leona Sitkoff, Elise, and I don't know Elise's last name, but she's the older sister of Miles, Madison Bourne, Grace Della Rovera. Oh, that's Grace. Say it again. Grace Della Rovera. Good, thank you. Ian Schofield, Asa Schofield, Adeline Pedotti, Sebastian Jug, Bridget Hurley, and Kian Hurley. Hey, okay, excellent.
This is Gabby Rios.
How good. Hi, Gabby.
She's going to join us morning.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. There you are. Great. And teaching this fall, Becca Stiles, Joanna Dahl, Suzanne Glazer, Sue Corman, Laura Reese, Jenny Lofgren, Jeff Della Rovera, Dana Clancy. Yeah, I got to practice that, don't I? I need a Della Rovera. How's that? Okay, thanks. Thank you. Dana Clancy, Bridget Sitkoff, Dee Dee Emmons, Marie Laura Brown. Coming of Age Mentors, Jonah Buchman and Steve Yakutis. Okay. Here you are, many of you, and there are many others as well, of all ages. In your hymnal, there is a responsive reading. It is number 652. And we are going to read that, and we're going to do it responsively, which means all of us up here are going to do the first part, if you can see it. And if you can't, I'll stand among you. 652. So I wanted to say to you guys that the person who wrote this, his name is William Ellery Channing. He was alive 200 years ago. And he used a lot of big words. So I'm a little bit sorry about that, but I couldn't find, it's still good, and a lot of the stuff you'll be able to understand. Why can't I find it? 652. Okay, so you all are reading the italics, and we are reading what starts. Are we ready? Everybody got something they can see? Okay. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own.
Not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own.
Not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth.
Not to form an outward regulation
not to bind them by irrevocable, restrictions to our particular sex and peculiar notions. Not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought. In a word, the great end is to awaken the soul to excite and cherish spiritual life. We all hope that that happens for all involved. Before you go, you all are going to say the words in the order of service to everybody up here. Can I see that? Go ahead. We thank you. I guess we could say thank you. You're all going to head out. If you have a hymnal, you can bring it back or you can put it on the windowsill over there, and we'll see you later as we sing Go Now in Peace. I invite you now into a moment of silence when you can be alone with your own thoughts, your own feelings. If there is noise that you hear, not to worry, but this is a time for stillness inwardly and outwardly. It'll end as I ring the chime.
Day. Author, activist, and religious leader Dorothy Day was the co-founder with Peter Morin of the Catholic Worker Movement. The houses of hospitality that are the heart of the Catholic Worker Movement serve meals, offer housing, and work for peace. This reading comes from her memoir, The Long Loneliness. We were just sitting there talking when Peter Morin came in. We were just sitting there talking when lines of people began to form, saying, "We need bread." We could not say, "Go, be thou filled." If there were 6 small loaves and a few fishes, we had to divide them. There was always bread. We were just sitting there talking, and people moved in on us. Let those who can take it, take it. Some moved out, and that made room for more. And somehow the walls expanded. We were just sitting there talking, and someone said, "Let's all go live on a farm." It was as casual as all that, I often think. It just came about. It just happened. I found myself, a barren woman, the joyful mother of children. It is not always easy to be joyful, to keep in mind the duty of delight. The most significant thing about the Catholic worker is poverty, some say. The most significant thing is community, others say. We are not alone anymore. But the final word is love. At times it has been, in the words of Father Zosissima, a harsh and dreadful thing, and our very faith in love has been tried through fire. We cannot love God unless we love each other. And to love, we must know each other. We know God in the breaking of bread, and we are not alone anymore. Heaven is a banquet, and life is a banquet too, even with a crust, where there is companionship. We have all known the long loneliness, and we have learned that the only solution is love, and that love comes with community. It all happened while we sat there talking, and it is still going on.
A morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who
Morning again. There's something called the welcoming prayer that's generated a lot of interest in the past decade or so, especially in contemplative circles. In truth, it's more of a spiritual practice than a prayer, though it is a prayer too. So briefly, there are 3 movements to this prayer practice. First, feel and sink in to what you are experiencing in your body. Second, welcome what you are experiencing in your body as an opportunity to consent to the divine indwelling. Third, let go by saying or praying, I let go of my desire for security, affection, and control, and embrace this moment as it is. This practice is based on a 17th century spiritual classic called Abandonment to Divine Providence by Jean-Pierre de Caussade, as well as the more recent practice of centering prayer created by Trappist Thomas Keating. Mary Morawski, who formulated the welcome prayer, says this about it: to welcome and let go is one of the most radically loving, faith-filled gestures we can make each moment of each day. It is an open-hearted embrace of all that is in ourselves and the world. Now I know in UU churches we don't talk much about abandonment to divine providence or consent to divine indwelling. And to pray to let go of desire for security, affection, and control is a tall order, no matter what one's theology is. I bring it to you for what I think it says, invites, and challenges us in the way of belonging, both self-belonging, inward directed, and the welcome of belong to others, outwardly directed. And perhaps it might help to also hear this approach from another person, another faith tradition. There is a short prayer poem called The Guest House. It dates back to the 13th century, and it's attributed to the Persian poet and Islamic scholar Jalaluddin Rumi. I wouldn't be surprised if you've heard this, because this does show up in UU churches often. It's brief. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Can you hear something similar between those two things, the welcoming prayer and the guest house? The invitation to welcome everything and to do it lightly, to welcome and let go of what can keep us from embracing life as it is, found in the welcoming prayer, to welcome laughing, found in the guest house poem. And in both, I heard and openness and trust of what in the first is called divine indwelling, and in the second is simply that which comes from beyond. The presence of the Spirit showing up in the midst of our homes, in the midst of our bodies, in the wild rumpus of life. Speaking of the wild rumpus of life, I spent a lot of time in my 20s as a volunteer in Catholic worker houses of hospitality, first in Worcester at the Mustard Seed and later in Boston at Haley House in the South End. I never knew what would happen on my shift, who might come in the door, if we'd have enough food, if there'd be a crisis of some sort, or an outbreak of spontaneous singing. So it's easy for me to imagine myself in the reading that Elise read, where everyone was sitting around talking. And I'd see myself in the soup kitchen after meals were served and the soup bowls washed and put away, the calm after the storm with the aroma of the meal still in the air. Dorothy Day has a way with words. We were just sitting there talking, she writes. And meanwhile, people were fed, shelter provided, food was grown, love was grown in community. And the world as it was, seen and embraced. Each person welcomed for who they were, be they one who volunteers or one who is served. Somehow the walls expanded so that everyone belongs. Just sitting around talking in community is not to be underestimated, for it leads to connection, leads to deeper community, leads to new ideas, sparks imagination, which leads to taking risk, taking action, which leads to more sitting around talking about what is happening in the world and what is happening in our hearts, which leads to more connection and deeper community, and so on. What was it that Margaret Mead said? Never underestimate the power of a small group of people to change the world. In fact, it is the only way it ever has. Yeah. Yesterday, I had a chance to spend time with the adaptive change team as they sat there talking, which is to say, as they sifted through their experiences over the past couple years of meeting with many of you and many groups in the church, with the vision of finding a way to become a more welcoming, integrated, multi-generational congregation. Love was at the heart of it all, it seemed to me as I spent time there. Love for this church, love for the people of this church, love for those who might come. It felt really exciting to me because after a period of incubating all they had heard and learned, they were ready to encourage and support some new things, all in the spirit of let's just try this out and let's keep talking and listening to each other. Let's put faith into action, lightly, with laughter. The worship theme for the month of September is belonging. Belonging can include belonging to ourselves, welcoming all parts of ourselves, as well as expanding the walls, opening the circles of our lives and our institutions to welcome those who want to come in. Researcher Brené Brown said something in one of her TED Talks that really struck me about this larger belonging that encompasses self and others. She said that the opposite of belonging is actually fitting in. Because when we try to fit in, we're assessing a group of people and changing who we are, amending ourselves in hopes of being accepted and included. And who amongst us hasn't done that? But at what cost to ourselves, perhaps of even knowing ourselves, because we've changed ourselves to fit in. True belonging never asks us to change who we are. It demands that we be who we are. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. And what we want for ourselves, we want for others too, which can mean examining ourselves for the presence of bias, conscious or unconscious, towards those who may seem or feel different to us. It can mean stretching ourselves to ensure that others feel comfortable in the places where we feel comfortable. It can mean, to quote Brené Brown again, breaking down the walls, abandoning our ideological bunkers, and living from our wild heart instead of our weary hurts. We're going to have to learn to listen, she says, have hard conversations, look for joy, share pain, and be more curious than defensive, all while seeking moments of togetherness. Later in today's service, you'll hear one member's faith reflection about what it means to her to volunteer in service of her faith community. Later still, we will gather to feast from the fruits of the earth, sharing food we all brought. Or if you didn't bring it, it's okay too. I didn't bring it. But a lot of people brought it, and we get to feed ourselves and each other. There you will hear of ways you can join in the wild rumpus of life here at First Parish. What might be your gift to give? What might be your way of stretching yourself so that others can feel a sense of belonging even as your own sense of connection is deepened? We have all known the long loneliness. And we have learned that the only solution is love. And love comes from community. Both Dorothy Day and Brené Brown have made an impact on me as women of courage and vision and faithfulness to their values. Both have challenged me to take my life seriously and seriously how I live it. Two rather different women who only shared planet Earth together for a small number of years. I rather enjoy imagining the two of them sitting around talking. But I care more about the conversations that occur here in faith communities throughout our country and in our families and our neighborhoods, all the places of belonging. There are 1,000 ways we can deepen true belonging in ourselves and with others. Some ways are easy, some ways are not easy. My large family of origin will soon meet my daughter's partner, who uses the pronoun they, a new experience for my family. They, my family, love her, so they want to know and love them, her partner. I'm pretty sure that not everybody will navigate proper pronoun use correctly. I still make mistakes. But I hope and trust that love will carry the day and they will all try because they want my daughter's partner to feel like they belong. That means they, my family, will have to learn something new. Usually when we stretch in love for another, we become part of the larger belonging too. Our world is rife with divisions right now. I don't have to tell you that. It can feel discouraging, frightening, enraging. You name the feelings. The welcoming prayer and Rumi in the poem Guest House say, welcome those feelings, honor those feelings, yet let us not be consumed by those feelings, for they are not the whole story. In this time when our Jewish siblings have begun their high holy days, let us heed the wisdom of Rabbi Tarfon, who 2,000 years ago wrote, "You are not obliged to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it." Bringing about the beloved community where everybody has a seat at the table calls for each of us to find our way to enlarge the reality of true belonging and to bring healing to our world. We can only do what we can do, and we must do what we can do. We are not alone. Others, too, are finding their way to heal division and create a world of true belonging. Let that gladden our hearts. Please join me in hymn number 219, "O Hear My People," rising as you wish and are able. 219. Let us come together now in the spirit of meditation and prayer to raise up what matters most to us in this life we share. We begin with prayers for people of Puerto Rico as they engage in the exhausting work of recovery after Hurricane Fiona. We hold in our hearts the family who briefly experienced the abduction of their toddler when their car with toddler inside was stolen in the church's parking lot. We remember those in this community who are grieving the loss of family members who have died recently. And most recently, Mallory Diggs' sister, Diana, to cancer this week. We hold in our hearts those who are recovering from COVID and all those for whom this virus remains a serious worry. Let us take a moment now of silence to bring to the surface our deeper needs and highest aspirations. O Holy One, you who know ourselves better than we do, please give us what we need to be the people of love and courage and joy that we long to be. Help us to see the beauty in our world as summer passes into autumn. And help us to see the beauty in each other, imperfect yet glorious humans that we are. Amen.
Many years ago and came back to the church about 2 years ago. Can everyone hear me? Okay. When our daughter was in middle school, she and I visited a lot of churches, trying to find the one that felt right to us. When we came to First Parish, she and I both knew we'd found a home here. There were a lot of things that led us to feel that way, but two main factors were the sense of community and the commitment to service. We were greeted by members of the congregation as soon as we came in the door. They could see we were new and they gave us a special welcome, but they also happily greeted everyone who came. I also remember getting the order of worship, which allowed us to participate in the service, to be part of the church, and that hadn't been our experience at a lot of the churches that we visited. And then, of course, was social hour. By the end of that noisy social hour, which I think actually was about an hour and a half or 2 hours, we knew we'd found a community of individuals who truly cared about and for one another. As I mentioned, I was also drawn to First Parish because of its commitment to service. The value of service, both supporting our own members and serving the larger community around us, was apparent from that very first service. It was part of the sermon, the call to worship, the unison dedication, and the volunteer announcements in the order of worship. And throughout my time at the First Parish, I volunteered in a lot of ways, both within the church and in the larger community. For example, I've taught religious education, hosted social hour, served on committees, worked at food banks, and helped out with the caring committee. Some, like cooking it for Father Bill's, were right in my wheelhouse. Others were very far outside of my comfort zone, like being an usher, which surprisingly has turned out to be one of my favorite activities and incredibly easy to do. But all of these experiences, while different, they've all enriched my life and uplifted me. They've energized me and made me feel more connected to the people in the church and to the community around me. And being able to serve has made me feel closer to my true self and to God. Thank you.
Today's offering is dedicated to the services and ministry of First Parish. To give, please follow the instructions which are printed in your order of worship or shown in the Zoom screen. For those in the meeting house, you may also deposit cash or check into the collection plate located at the main entrance at the end of the service. If you are proud of this church, become its advocate. If you care about its future, share its message. We welcome all to build a just and healthy world with faith, love, and compassion. Please support our faith community by giving as generously as you can.
To get you an assistant. Said we need, oh, one more time. Check 1, 2. All right. Anyway, good morning. Hey there. Just a few weeks ago, we had a small ensemble lead this song. It was part of the Joy service that Walt and Tracy Robinson did for us. So we thought we would bring them back, but this time, we have everyone. We have the choir, and we have all of you, and it's something that we thought maybe with the theme of belonging that this would be the last Sunday, and so we thought, what a great song, and I think if we just do that. The lyrics are in your order of service, and I just want you to look around. This year is going to be a special year for us, and we're going to be talking a lot about who we include and what kind of bouquet we are. And we look around, and the lyrics here, mine is the church that everybody's welcome. I know it's true because I got through the door. So sing with us. Our demons keep trying to divide us. They document their lies to make them true. Today we are free from judging and excluding. Just look around, enjoy the lovely view.
into strength for this faith community, into comfort, food, and shelter for those in need, and may we be transformed by generosity. Please join us in our closing hymn, number 115 in the Gray Hymnal, God of Grace and God of Glory.
Is a banquet too, even with a crust where there is companionship. This service has ended. Our service to each other and the world begins. Let us go now to our banquet of companionship, grateful for this community of memory and hope.